sometimes you're not even sure if you're supposed to be doing it. You're just fucking doing it. Like an NPC, a non-player character in a game. Just going through the motions without any real intention or joy. Hey there. Welcome to the Four Genies Project, a space where transformation is about becoming, not performing. Because self-development isn't about fixing yourself. It's about freeing yourself. Freeing yourself from expectations that don't fit, from stories that were never yours to carry, from rules that keep you from living fully, unapologetically like yourself. Each week, you'll hear real conversations, practical tools, and unfiltered truths, all designed to make self-growth feel natural and not like another impossible standard. This isn't just another self-help podcast. It's a movement, a space where we stop waiting for permission and start living life our way. So, why wait for 3 wishes when you can start freeing your genie one step at a time? Let's go. Today's episode is special and dear to my heart because it's been a while since I've talked about this concept, about this framework. And I am really, really big on frameworks. Not because I think life is supposed to fit neatly in boxes. If anything, I believe the exact opposite. But I do believe that when we feel lost or stuck or in this weird, sticky in between, frameworks can be a map that help us figure out where we are and where we're going. And the thing with frameworks and boxes is that they also grant us this magic paradoxical power of helping us see how we can break out of them with intentionality and power when we want to. So, for a little bit of context, you know that this podcast and this movement is called the Four Genies Project. But before this, all the way in a galaxy far, far away called the Pandemic Galaxy, I was doing a coaching program called Free the Genie. And so you see there's a thread here. If there was a Free the Genie, and this is the Four Genies Project, then it makes sense that there are other types of genies, right? Different stages that you go through before you reach that feeling of real, authentic freedom. And you're right. So today, what I want to do with you is walk you through the 4 types of genies that make up this whole genie hero's journey thing. This has been how I've helped people figure out if and where they're stuck, if they're thriving, or if they're somewhere in between. And this has been instrumental in them and me figuring out what the next step looks like in life. Before we dive in, I want to acknowledge something that is very important, and that is that life doesn't always fit neatly into one big category, right? You might be feeling super aligned and thriving in one area, like, let's say, money, but you might also feel completely fucking lost in another, like love or creativity, and that's okay. This framework that I'm about to share with you can be applied to specific areas of your life. Let's say work, relationships, health, finances, whatever it is that you're focused on. Or you can look at it as a GPA across all areas of your life and figure out what your average score is. And the truth is, I've been in all of these stages at some point, and so if anything hits home for you, or if anything makes you feel like, holy shit, why or how I got here, it's all good. It's all good. You know what this is? This is just information. And we use information to grow. So without further ado, let's get right into the 4 types of genies. So back when I first created this framework, I called the stages Trap Genie, Free Genie, Princess, and Queen. And now that I look back at it, I can see why it wasn't clicking for me the way that I thought it was. Why was the Free Genie the second step when that's literally the goal? The end result has always been to become a free genie. And I think the reason why it didn't click for me back then is because I was still stuck in this like boss babe, queen mindset. And I honestly thought that my ultimate goal, and therefore the goal of anything that I produced, was to help people and myself, mostly myself, be this badass, independent boss bitch ruling her world. And there are still bits and pieces of that are true. But the how has changed. A lot of things have changed, and I have changed. And with me, this framework has evolved from 2020 to 2025. And now it feels way more grounded and real. So you're all gonna get the exclusive news of what the new breakdown of the types of genies is. A trapped genie, a curious genie, an aligning genie, and free genies. And honestly, this version makes so much more sense to me. Let's get breaking down each of these stages. Alright, so the first stage is the trapped genie. And this one, it feels heavy. I think we've all been here at some point. Is that feeling where life is just happening to you? Like you're on autopilot, going through the motions because, well, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Maybe that looks like climbing some version of a success ladder in career, relationships, or your day-to-day routines. But no matter how hard you work, something feels off. Like you're doing all of the right things, but none of it is actually making you happy whatsoever. And sometimes you're not even sure if you're supposed to be doing it. You're just fucking doing it. Like an NPC, you know, a non-player character in a game. Just going through the motions without any real intention or joy. And a lot of this actually comes from caring too much about what other people might think. Or trying to replicate what you've seen works for others without even asking yourself if it works for you. Or even worse, without even asking yourself if you want it to work for you. And sometimes it's because of real life pressure. Because let's get really fucking honest here, this world is not set up for everybody to thrive equally, and we know it. So when you have less privilege to begin with because of your intersectionalities, your socio-economic status, right, your race, whatever it is, there's a high chance that your wildly imaginative self get crushed into this tiny genie lamp very, very early on. And you grew up with this belief that this is all that's possible for me. Nothing more, maybe less. And that fucking sucks. But also, that is not your fucking fault. And it is okay if you feel like you've been stuck in this stage way longer than you'd like. It just means that your path to breaking out of the trapped genie stage might look different. And yes, it probably might take a little longer, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible. So if any of this sounds familiar to you, it's not about shaming yourself for feeling stuck. What I invite you to do is just notice the information. Notice what's happening and notice why you think you are in this stage of the genie journey, because that will give you a lot of information. And your next step is just start questioning shit. And I have like this other thing that I took out from, I want to say, You're a Badass at Making Money. This method, right, of taking a belief and starting questioning it. And then questioning what comes out of the first question and just layering it down until you get to this like very weirdly uncomfortable layer that shows you your belief is basically a lie to yourself. I call it the onion method because beliefs are like onions. They got layers. But your step is to start questioning things. So I want to invite you to take out your phone or open up your notes app in whatever device that you're listening to this podcast and write down the first thing that comes to mind. When you ask yourself the question, what have I accepted as the truth without even checking twice if it actually applies to me? Or if I actually think that is the truth. Because just acknowledging that you are in this stage, that you are in the trapped genie moment, it's a huge fucking win. But you know what? Once you start questioning things, once you start getting deep into the layers of your beliefs, you start moving into the next phase, the curious genie. And this is where things get interesting. I almost dare say that this is my favorite stage because it's like you're just waking up. You're realizing that there's so much more out there than the life that you've been living, and everything feels new. You also don't have many answers. I would probably say that at this point you have more questions than ever and less answers than ever. But that's kind of the point of this whole stage. The point of this stage is to get fucking curious. You know, you are awakening. You're experimenting. You're feeling things out. So, in reality, there's no failing here. Only experimentation and data collection. It's almost like you're a kid again. You're figuring out the world and your place in it. You're also figuring out your voice and how it relates to the world around you. And of course, at this stage, opinions are still there. Like, newsflash, opinions of other people are never leaving. But the big difference here is that they are not running the show like they used to. You're starting to tune out these other voices and questioning these other opinions, these outside opinions, and tuning into your own wisdom because you're learning that your voice matters too. But here's the thing, right? Because there's always a thing. Curiosity without action keeps you stuck in your own head. So, in a way, your next move is kind of simple. At this point, you just gotta take action. And I'm not talking about this like big, bold gesture. I'm gonna quit my job and buy a van and drive cross country and become an influencer kind of action. But if that's something that you've been considering and this is like your nudge to do it, by all means, fucking go. I'm actually talking here about the smallest actions, those micro moments of confidence building. Maybe it's saying no to plans that you don't actually want to do at least once a week. Maybe it's taking extra 5 minutes in the bathroom because it's the only peaceful time that you have for yourself all day. Maybe it's trying something new that lights you up. Taking an improv class, experimenting with painting, signing up for a fitness thing, whatever feels good. This is the moment, this is the actions that are all about allowing yourself to play and explore, and also to tune in with yourself and notice what feels good, what you're craving. And I want to again emphasize this. At this point, And actually, at any point, there is no action too small. I dare say that the smaller the action, the more radical your intention, because you are then really owning that very specific moment and making it yours. So your challenge, your invitation, your task, should you accept it, in this stage, if you are a curious genie right now, is to pick one small action you can take today, or if you're listening to this late at night, tomorrow, and actually doing it. Maybe it's saying no to something you usually say yes to out of obligation, or taking the time, taking the space to do something that is just for you, even if just for 5 minutes. So write your thing down and do it. And then please, please, please DM me and tell me what you did and how it felt. But for now, we're gonna keep moving along. And now that you're taking action, we are gonna talk about the next stage in the genie's journey, which is the aligning genie. And the aligning genie is where you're done playing small. Even if you haven't been able to blast the lamp off in every part of your life, something inside of you is completely different from when you were trapped. Something has shifted, and you have made the decision to do something about all of these realizations you've had throughout your journey. People's opinions, as I told you already, they're still going to be there, but they're starting to feel more like background noise. The day-to-day might still be there, grinding and hustling in whatever shape or form that hustle, that grind comes to you. But at this point, you are way more focused on finding your own path and owning your own voice. So even when you still might have to go to the office or might have to have multiple jobs, your brain is starting to think of different realities that could be possible for you. I know that this ain't all smooth sailing. The discomfort is real, and this constant opposition between the life that you see possible for you and the life that might be advertised for you and the life that you have might feel uncomfortable, yucky, insert whatever uncomfortable word you have here. And that is real, because the more you see that you can live differently, that you can choose differently, this matrix, just to put a name on it, like if you resist that name, just this life, right, that we live, this preconception of what we should be doing at different stages of our lives is going to start becoming very bothersome to you, even more than it's ever been. And I just want to do like a side conversation here, because this is the moment where a lot of the IG coaches, this is the part where they'll tell you something like, well, now that you've awakened to the matrix and you see that you can live differently and you are working on your self-development, it is time to leave all those suckers behind that do not see and do not grow with you. If they give you the slightest pain, let them fucking drown. But, I mean, I think it's not that simple. If people that you care about are in different stages, and they're not total assholes, they're not abusive, they're not mean and bad people, do we have to leave them out? I think, yes, we need to be intentional about our surroundings and find more people that resonate with this life that we're living or that we want to live. But we also need to do an audit of the people around us and consider our heart too, and their heart, and their character, and our experiences that we've lived together before we give them the boot, before we cut them out of our lives. I just wanted to say, in this stage, the discomfort is quite real. And you're going to start making bolder choices about how you build the next stage. But that doesn't mean that you have to take everything that you've carried with you and burn it to the ground. Now that the side talk is over, we can continue. Because I want to talk about another thing when it comes to discomfort. This discomfort that we're feeling right now, that resistance, that's one kind of discomfort. But there's another kind. There's a discomfort that comes from expansion. And I want to make sure that we talk about the nuance of that discomfort here too. Because people perceive that change has to be drastic. At this stage, you're like, okay, I'm either comfortable in this cocoon of things that I'm not even sure I want, or I am completely unhinged in this discomfort trying to build something that I don't have yet. And I have to go all out to make this new life happen. But even if we were to do that, things take time. And that kind of extreme discomfort, that kind of all or nothing, going into uncomfortable things without prepping, that's what makes us yo-yo back into the trap genie and make us feel like we're starting over from square one. Because it takes our bodies, our minds, and our nervous systems way too far from what it feels safe. So a lot of people will be telling you, you gotta push out of your comfort zone. And I'm here to tell you that when you push way past your comfort zone and you don't feel safe way past your comfort zone, you are gonna run back to that comfort zone like it's nobody's business. So the trick here isn't to throw yourself all out into the waves of the unknown and uncomfortable. It's to keep your home base and dip your toes into the unknown little by little. The idea here is to build a bridge, one step at a time, every day, with every action that makes the uncomfortable a little more familiar, so that your body doesn't want to run home every time you try to do something different. Because when you do that, when you start making the unknown, the uncomfortable, feel a little bit more safe, that's how you grow sustainably. That's how you step into the free genie that you already are. So I want to invite you right now, if you are in this stage, if you are this genie, to think of one area of your life where you're pushing yourself too far out trying to change. And ask yourself, how can I still be in that discomfort, but in a more doable way? You know, what is one tiny step that I can take into this direction that feels uncomfortable, but doable? And therein lies the magic. So, all right, rant over on that side, but what happens, right, when you start consistently taking these steps from your comfort zone into the unknown? What happens when you make that unknown known and safe? Well, my friend, when you have done that, you move into the final stage, the free genie. And this is the stage where everything starts to click. You know, you go from not knowing shit or feeling very numb and kind of like doing stuff on autopilot in this like zombie-like way, to experimenting and figuring out what's your jam, to taking tiny steps. And now in this stage, this life is fully yours. You're owning your life. You're not waiting for permission. You're just doing what feels good and right for you. Actually, I'm going to scratch that. I'm not going to say what feels good and right for you, because sometimes it might not feel good, but it might be the right thing for you in that moment. So you're more aligned with your integrity to yourself in this stage more than ever, in whatever scale you can do at the moment. Because here's the thing. Just because you're a free genie, just because you are in this embodied journey of taking steps towards a life that you want to live, doesn't mean that the world changes and becomes more privileged for you from 0 to 100. So there might still be challenges, there might still be things that are not 100% aligned with the vision that you have with your life. But at this stage, you are curious and centered enough in yourself that you have the capacity to find the workarounds that help you build your dreams despite society being a shit show. That free genie freedom of mind might look like making decisions from a place of more clarity and intention. It might look like feeling like you are choosing things instead of doing what you have to do. You now actually have choices and the power to point at what works best for you for the life that you want. It's having the resilience, the patience, and the open-mindedness to play the long game. Because this is not about having everything figured out and arriving at your place of free genie and, living whatever poster child image we have of a person in its most successful. This is about knowing who you are and letting that knowledge guide you into your future, into yourself. Fuck, not even. It's about that knowledge guiding you back to yourself. Because you were always there. And the best part of this whole journey is that you're still evolving. But now, because of how embodied that evolution is, other people see it too. And they rise with you. When you rise, when you free your genie, your community frees their genie too. And all because you dare to question and you dare to dream a life that was meant for you and a life that is so exquisite that other people start to wake up and say, fuck, I wanna draw my own life. I wanna draw my version of that. How do I start? And now they're starting to free their genies just by watching you do your thing. And that, my friend, is how we change society. One fucking genie at a time. So, if you feel like this stage is where you are right now, I want to take a big fucking breath of acknowledgement and celebration for you because I guarantee that this shit wasn't easy. But you're here. And you've made it so fucking far. So if you are here in your free genie, I want to invite you to ask yourself that question. What's next? What is that thing that's giving me curiosity? Because at this point you have two options. You either stay in this place long enough to become trapped by it. Yeah, I'm sorry, life is a spiral. Or you bypass the trap and get curious again. So, your choice. And I say that in the best of way, because when we get to where we want it to be, and next level unlocks, and I'm not talking necessarily about a bigger promotion and more money and more success. There's just a different level of awareness that we haven't discovered yet. So yes, those are the 4 Genie stages. But before we move forward, before we wrap up this episode, I want to kind of rapid fire the takeaways here. Because it's not necessarily about labeling ourselves and that's it. It's not let me hear this episode and see what kind of genie am I, and then this is who I am, I'm gonna carry this label and just have fun. It's about figuring out what to do with that label, or any label for that matter. So step 1, self-awareness. This process, these frameworks, are an opportunity for you to get real with yourself about where you are, what's working, what's not working. Step number 2 is to take small, consistent actions, because you don't need a complete life overhaul. As much as we'd love to have like the Fab Five show up at our door and like give us an entire makeover and maybe some free furniture, we don't need that to get our shit on track. We just need to make tiny shifts and trust on the compound effect of those small shifts in our life, because those changes will add up and will make a big difference. And step 3 is surrounding yourself with the right people, with the right resources, with the right knowledge, because that growth that's real is not a solo journey. The people around you will make a huge difference, and you will make a huge difference in the people around you too. So surround yourself with people that are on the journey that you want to be, so that the people that you love that may not be on this journey yet get inspired and maybe join you in their own way at some point. Because you can make a huge difference, and together, freeing each other, we're going to make a difference in the world. And last reminder is that this isn't just about your whole life. Like, you can also apply this to specific areas that you want to overhaul or tweak a little bit. Whatever area feels off or stuck, you can use this and figure out what kind of genie you are embodying in that life bucket. Alright, so now that you know the Genie stages, I want to know where you think you are right now. Are you a trapped genie, a curious genie, an aligning genie, or a free genie? Either DM me at the Free Genies Project, or just drop it here in the episode comments section and share it. Let me know what it is, where you are, and what you thought about this episode. As always, take what you need, leave what you don't, and make this journey entirely yours. If something in this episode resonated, please let me know. Leave a review, share your thoughts in the comments, or DM me over at the Free Genies Project on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, adios.